Hello and welcome. My name is Erin Aquin. I am a life coach, a yoga instructor, and author, and I also host a podcast called Alive with Purpose. In this particular coaching class, I want to talk to you all about creating habits. Now, this is something we do on probably a yearly basis every January 1st, but as you probably know, creating a brand new habit can be a lot of work, especially when you are trying to get consistent or develop something on your way to a bigger goal in your life. I have been doing something for free with my community over the last few weeks called the Off the Back Burner Challenge. And the premise behind this was that we were taking something that's important in our life, but maybe we haven't really been prioritizing or giving ourselves enough time to really make it happen. So for an example, I have been working on creating a course. This course has been in my head for the better part of the summer, but I had not been putting the time in my calendar every day to really work on it. A few of my students have been doing things like daily yoga. Some of them have been doing daily meditation practices. Another is working on their book. So everybody's doing something different, but the idea behind this challenge was that we want to find out what happens if you take small but consistent baby steps towards your goal. 15 minutes a day working on something is 100% better than never working on it at all. So that's been really inspiring. It's been great to hear about everyone who's been doing such a good job. But I wanted to read to you some of the thoughts that I got back when I asked people what their big trouble committing to something like this really was. So I'm going to read them to you. People said a big obstacle. One person said that a big obstacle for her was that her commitment to everyone else got her time, but it was really hard to put herself first when there were so many things to manage. Someone else said, to be honest, I just get easily distracted. Another person said, it's really hard to commit because self-doubt is an underlying issue. So I assume that means not feeling like your goal is worthy, so you have a hard time really committing to whatever it is you want to do. So these were a few of the answers that I got, and there was one more. Someone said that sometimes it's the commitments to other people. You can't beat yourself up when that's the case, but you should also be honest with yourself to keep selfishness from becoming an avoidance mechanism you use to escape emotionally challenging work. So when I dug a little bit deeper with that person, we really do put other people a lot of times in front of ourselves when it comes to our commitments, and we want to be selfless and giving and loving and prioritize the important people in our lives, but sometimes that can be an avoidance tactic to really get to our own work, because sometimes that stuff is challenging. So I thought all of this was really interesting, and as a life coach, I'm always very interested in finding out a little bit more about what those thoughts really create. Now, a lot of you have probably done thought work in the past or have heard about like thinking your way to success or mantras or affirmations. That is not at all what I am talking about when I say thought work. Thought work, from my perspective, from my school of coaching, is really uncovering the thoughts that are driving our feelings, which create our actions and results. Because feelings just don't come out of nowhere. We have a thought behind them. Now, sometimes these thoughts are unconscious. So one person said that she had trouble keeping commitments to herself because she gets easily distracted. I bet you 100% she thinks that her being easily distracted is just a fact. It's the fact of the matter. I'm easily distracted. It's part of who I am. It's part of my nature. But if we really dig deeper into that, you can see that it is just a thought she's thinking, and it's perpetuating the cycle of not keeping commitments to yourself. I want to also really highlight that these kinds of thoughts do hold us back. So when you are trying to come up with a new goal, a new habit, what I might suggest is that we start by getting to the root of the obstacle. So the obstacle is always a thought. It's never another person. So keeping commitments to other people. Often people will say, well, I had to do this for my kids, or I had to do this for my partner, and therefore I didn't get to my yoga practice today. And I always want to slow people down and reiterate that we actually don't have to do anything. So you might think this is kind of a non-negotiable in your life, like you have to pick your kids up from school. You say, well, I have to pick up my kids from school. There are parents in the world that don't pick their kids up from school. Maybe somebody else does it. Maybe they forget about their kids. I'm not suggesting you do that, but I just want you to see that the arrangement that you have in your life did come from a choice. You have a choice as to how your kid gets home. They could take the bus. Someone else could pick them up. You could arrange for your partner or another family member, perhaps, if that's your situation, to do it. So really making sure that we understand when we have a reason or an excuse for not sticking to a commitment that we've made ourselves, there's always a choice behind that. So that's the first part of this, is just identifying that the have to's, the shoulds, the must, that's actually something that you get to choose. And it may be something that you actually want to rethink if it's getting in the way of something really big in your life. Now, I am a mostly stay-at-home mother. I do work on my business throughout the week. I would still consider myself a full-time worker, but I also spend a lot of time with my kids. That is not an accident. I had to choose to have children. I had to choose to stay home with, right now, just one of them full-time and one of them part-time. But it's been a really interesting reminder every time I'm like, oh, I have to blah, blah, blah with my kids. I can't work on my course that I've been doing for this challenge. It's been a really good to self-coach myself on that and remember that actually it's my choice to do that. I could choose to put both my children in full-time daycare. I could choose to have a nanny come in. There are so many other options, and I think this is actually brilliant because it doesn't only put the responsibility for how you want to live back in your own hands, but it empowers you to see that there's actually a lot of different options that you can choose from. Now, I also know that once we start to rethink our thoughts and say, okay, I'm really committed to, let's say it's going to the gym. I'm gonna go to the gym every day for 15 minutes and do a workout. When you make that commitment to yourself, it feels so good. It's like, it feels better than going to the gym. You can sit down, you can put it all in your calendar, which is what I recommend people do. But then inevitably that little timer is gonna pop up on your phone or your calendar to remind you that it's time to go to the gym. And you, if you are like most people, are gonna feel some dread, or you're gonna find a reason or an excuse that you don't want to do that. And this is where most people really do get tripped up, because they will tell me that I just didn't feel motivated. I didn't feel excited about it. And if it doesn't feel right, I don't wanna do it because that's not authentic. I love this. I love this kind of way that our brains have talked us out of our goals and our dreams. Not really, but I hear this a lot from spiritual people, from yoga people, about authentic thoughts and feelings. And I think this is a totally backwards way of looking at it. So sometimes people will say, okay, I want to create this gym habit. I want to do it. I want to do it. And those are two different things. You want the goal, but you may not wake up and feel like it's rainbows, sunshine, and cupcakes every day when that time comes up on your calendar. And if you are one of those people that think that you need to do what you feel because your initial gut or intuitive reaction is maybe a negative thought or feeling, I want you to really, I challenge you actually to re-examine this, because sometimes people don't really explore what they mean when they say an authentic feeling. They'll tell me that it's artificial to try to regenerate thoughts or pick and choose what thoughts and feelings to really experience. And they put more stock in like those unconscious or often negative things that come up and call those truth, call those authentic. But I want to challenge you to really look at where those things come from. Because so often we've adopted thoughts from our culture. You know that usually we're a product of how we were raised. Even if we've done a lot to get away from that, there are probably still unconscious behaviors and thoughts and feelings that we go to that have been around since we were kids. This is so important to remember, because if you learn, okay, let's pick one. Let me show you what I mean. If you learned as a child, this is maybe an old-fashioned, old-school thought that it's better to be seen, not heard, as a child. So if someone told you a lot, like you're a child, it's better to be seen, not heard, and you internalize that to mean that you're supposed to sit there, look pretty, be quiet, never share your emotions, never speak up. And you practice that and you get praised for doing it. So when you sit there and you're seen and you're not heard over and over again, and you get told what a good person you are for doing that, then this sort of becomes an ingrained behavior. It starts to feel natural to want to stay quiet in a group situation. It feels natural to just stuff your opinions down. And because you have sort of dug this groove for yourself, and other people have helped to create that for you throughout your whole life, then of course, being quiet, looking pretty, is going to feel authentic. Isn't that messed up? It's really just a thought that you've thought so many times that's carved its way into your patterning, your behaviors, that you're repeating it even now as an adult when you have the freedom to think and feel however you'd like. But we still sometimes think of that as being more authentic than a thought we're choosing on purpose. So if someone tells you that choosing a new thought, generating a new feeling is somehow inauthentic, I would absolutely question that. Because what would you rather think or feel? It's up to you. You can believe that. But personally, I would rather think thoughts that I've that I've selected on purpose, feel feelings that are more in line with how I want to live, than just cough up the programming that I was raised with or that culture has instilled upon me. So that is one option. And this comes back to that myth I was talking about, that you have to feel like doing something in order for it to be real or to actually do it. So all the people in the Off the Back Burner Challenge know this, but you can decide to think and feel however you want and still get things done. This is why I love thought work. This is why I find it so empowering, because having a nice emotion, a nice or easy or pleasant thought or feeling is always going to feel better, you know? But if you at the same time have done so much thought work and you've seen behind the scenes when it comes to the feelings that cause you discomfort, the feelings that don't feel great to feel, and you actually get to the bottom of it and see that those are just thoughts and feelings, they can't actually hurt you. In fact, the only thing that can hurt you is trying to avoid those things or buffer against those feelings. Once you just are willing to feel them, once you're willing to think, feel, and experience life exactly as it is, and then rework, re-choose how you would rather think, feel, react, and what you want to create in your life. When an unpleasant thought creates an unpleasant feeling, you just know it's not going to hurt you. So you don't need to sort of resist it or avoid it or buffer against it. I give this example in a podcast, actually, in one of the episodes of Alive with Purpose. But my teacher had said that it's sort of like you pay with your not so nice feelings sometimes. So if you were to go to a store and you handed over your money that day, the cashier went to hand you a bag, you would never turn and run in the opposite direction screaming, "No, no, I don't want that." So some days you're going to pay for your goal that day. You're going to pay for your commitment with inspiration and excitement. It's all going to feel great. Other days you're going to show up and it's going to be dread. It's going to be anxiety. It's going to be like, the world is coming to an end if I have to sit and meditate for 15 minutes. You might feel that way, but that's still good currency. In fact, I would argue that it's the days that you really don't feel like showing up for yourself, but you do it anyway, that you actually get even more out of that session. So again, this could be anything. This could be a physical practice, a spiritual practice. This could be something, working on something that you want to create in the future. And I really hope that this has just given you some forward momentum. So as you move forward, as you maybe select something that you want to commit to every day, remembering that those unpleasant feelings really can't hurt you. The only thing that maybe can is breaking that commitment to yourself over and over and over again to the point where you don't trust yourself, which is what most of us do. And if that's you, if that's kind of where you've been coming from up until now, I want to tell you that's okay, because we've all done it. And it just takes time to rebuild that trust. Just like it takes time to get to know someone in a relationship and build trust with them. That's all we have to do with ourselves. So not only does picking something, a new habit, a new goal, give you a path towards something that maybe you've really been dreaming of, but it's a chance to create a healthier relationship with yourself. And to me, that is just the most brilliant, amazing thing that has changed my life. And I really hope that this maybe inspires you to do the same. One more thing. I want to give you this last example. You might be able to hear my kids in the background, but waiting for the perfect time of day, waiting for the perfect moment, or waiting until your life is less busy is just another thought that you are having, if that's you. It makes you seem responsible, it makes you sound very wise, But I would say that's one of those tricky thoughts that is holding you back. So if you are waiting until you retire, until the kids are out of the house, until the kids start school, or in my case, until my kids go to bed, I want to tell you that it's really better to do your thing now. We have no guarantee about how much time we are afforded in this amazing life. And if you always wait till tomorrow, if you always put it off, at some point tomorrow's not going to come. So I don't want to end this on a very big, maybe morbid note, but I do want to really help to remind you that this is your life. You deserve to do things for yourself. You deserve to go after your goals. You deserve at least 15 minutes a day to do something that you are totally passionate about, excited about. And I would love to work with you if you need to get some support and figure out how to make that happen. I do one-on-one coaching with clients right now. I will post a link to that, but you can find me over at alivewithpurposecoaching.com. I also work a lot with parents. You can hear my little one screaming in the background, so you know that I know what that can be like. I know that's a thought, but as parents, this is, I would say, even more important to really put your goals ahead of everything else you think you need to do in your day. Make sure you schedule those first so that you can actually show up and be a full-fledged, holistically healthy human being and an amazing role model for your family. That is what I have for you today, and I hope that you will let me know the goals that you are working on, what you are accomplishing in your amazing life.